Apparently, we're just a bug podcast now.
I mean, why not? Hello. We are here at Sun Sounds of Arizona in Flagstaff, Arizona, and welcome to episode 30 of Untamed Shrews, Women Talk Theater, presented by the Flagstaff Shakespeare Festival. I'm Dawn.
And I'm Becki.
And I'm Hannah.
Today we are a Shrews-only episode, so we will be discussing the joys of outdoor theater and playing a little game called Shakespeare or Taylor Swift. But first, let's check it. Dawn is shaking her head.
No, it is so apt. This will be part of my check-in. I just finished teaching a week-long aerial camp, and there were two groups of students, and the older group of students picked the Taylor Swift love story for their routine song.
Love it.
And had no idea, most of them, what happens in Romeo and Juliet and or what the Scarlet Letter is. And I was like, you do realize that two of the three references in this Taylor Swift song are tragic stories. And they're like, no. I was like, Prince and Princess, I'll give you, because, like, you know, happily ever after. But, like, Romeo and Juliet, so I did, like, a 2-minute Romeo and Juliet, and they were all like, but why? And I was like,
is Prince and Princess, is that a story?
She's like, no, that's just her third reference.
Yeah.
She calls them, she compares them to Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
She compares them to a prince and a princess.
Okay.
And then she says, I
was the
Scarlet Letter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you were the Scarlet Letter? What does that mean, Taylor?
Yeah. So, I mean, I understand not knowing Scarlet Letter, but they didn't even know Romeo and Juliet.
Not most of them, but you have to remember they're 10 and 11. So it's like, you know, it's right before they would have, like, gotten to it in middle school, which is usually where kids get exposed to middle school. One of the girls even knew who Hester Prynne was from Scarlet Letter and, like, understood the ending of Scarlet Letter. And I was like, well, that is an impressive thing for an 11-year-old girl. That would have been me as an 11-year-old girl. Yeah. I would have been like, let me recap Great Expectations.
Yeah. I just rewatched Easy A couple weeks ago.
And you were like,
pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
Random side note.
Yeah.
Great Expectations is the one where they randomly get on a boat, right?
Randomly get on a boat.
I remember reading that book and being like, when did they get on a boat? Like, I was reading my study guide and I was like, when did they get on a boat? I missed that. Oh, no, maybe that was
Havisham. Wait, what do you?
Tale of Two Cities. Yes, absolutely. They do get on a boat in Tale of Two Cities.
Got it.
I mean, there's some dock stuff, I think, at the beginning of Great Expectations, but I don't feel like there's a boat. Anyway.
Sounds about right.
All right, so that was just funny. So that was basically my week. I spent my week teaching aerial to tiny tinies, and it was a blast. They're so fun and wonderful, and eat a lot of candy. And I had a good time. Yeah,
I was supposed to be helping with that camp before I booked this show. Yeah,
we could have used you. Could have used one more person for sure.
But yeah, I would have liked to.
And then I guess my big check-in thing that I may as well tell the Shrew crew is that I am 3 months pregnant. Yay. So
congrats.
Here comes baby number 2. I didn't want to tell anyone during first trimester because I was not excited during first trimester because I was so sick. And it's really hard to be excited when you feel like rotten human garbage. Yeah. So it was really brutal. I'm starting to feel better. So now I'm a little bit more like, oh, okay. I'm having a baby, I guess. This could be okay. Another December baby. Blake's gonna hate us for this when he's like in grade school and his little sibling, his birthday is like 10 days after his.
They're gonna get joint birthday parties.
They're gonna get joint birthday parties for as long as we can milk that. But also, like, Christmas is then 10 days after that.
Yeah.
So we might be looking at some half birthday situations when we get a little older.
That is quite the December.
Or because they're only going to be 2 years apart, maybe they'll just be super close and it'll be something like, even when they're 15 and 13, it'll be like, yeah, it's our joint birthday. Like,
you know what? And that's like 90% of parenting is what you just pointed out, Becki. If I approach it that way, they might think that that's how they should feel. So instead of being like, you should hate this, like, our child loves sleeping. And I honestly think that one of the things is that, like, from the day he was born, Sean would always say before he put him down, you get to take a nap.
Oh.
You get to go to bed. Instead of like, it's time, you have to. He would always be like, oh, you get to take a nap.
Lucky you.
And now Blake's like, night-night, night-night. We're like
please, let me go to bed.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so anyway, so that's a good point, Becki. I may as well just keep an optimistic attitude about it.
Yay. Well,
so that's my check-in.
Congrats to you and Sean.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Woo! We're gonna be aunties again.
Yay, best aunties ever.
I do love auntie life.
Yeah. It's a good life. How's it going in North Carolina, Hannah?
It's good. This is my dorm room.
Love a plain white wall.
Yeah, love a plain empty dorm room. No, it's good. So, I mean, I feel like I told everybody, but I'm here in North Carolina working with Sweet Tea Shakespeare, doing Shakespeare in Love with Jim Warren, who was on one of our early episodes. He's directed for us before, world-renowned Shakespeare director, founder of the American Shakespeare Center, a big deal. So it's been great just to work with him again, because this is like, I don't know, my 4th or 5th show with him. So I just like feel like we really vibe now. Like Jim and I really get each other. So like it's been so nice. Because he really understands me as a performer at this point. So like he knows what I'm good at and what I need more help with and like all those things. So the process has been a breeze because Jim just knows me so well. And I mean, Jim is just incredible. Also, today he was wearing Flag Shakes merch. And I was like, Jim, like a guy after my own heart, which was cute. That's great. North Carolina has been great. I mean, it's been hot a little bit and humid, but actually not that bad. Apparently it was kind of a cooler May / early June, so it actually hasn't been that bad. And I haven't announced it on the pod yet, but I have a boyfriend. And he just came and visited me here in North Carolina and was here and just left, so I'm all sad about that. But he's great, and hopefully many more good check-ins to come because he's just a really good one. So he came to visit me. That was awesome. So the show has been great. North Carolina's been great. I had some kind of big family stuff the last week or so, but everything seems to be looking up now. So it was kind of a stressful week or so because I was trying to prep for Jacob to come and also family stuff and also the show and also my regular job that I'm doing remotely. And I was just like, I can't do all of these at once. But things have gotten better. So if you find yourself in Fayetteville, please come see the show because it's honestly going to be really good. I think it's one of my favorite shows I've done. Also rewatch the movie. It's a reminder to see that movie because it's really good.
Yeah.
Awesome. I've never seen the movie, so.
Ooh, really?
Or I've never seen it all the way through.
Watch party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's really good. And it's also like, I imagine it like more recent, but it's from the 90s.
Yeah.
And I definitely imagine it as like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Very young Gwyneth Paltrow.
Young Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah.
It's really good. So recommend Shrew Crew. If you haven't seen Shakespeare in Love, it's really good. Yeah. So watch that. But I'm good.
Yay.
How are you, Bex?
I am good. I wanted to, well, I guess maybe there are two things maybe to update on like the update. So the last update, I feel like, because I talked about how I cut my hair and how I kind of hate it. Like, I just don't feel like myself. But I didn't give context. Like, I wasn't just like, I want to cut my hair and then I did it. Like, I was losing a lot of hair, like from shedding post chemo. Like, that is something that happens for people who cold cap. And so I was just losing so much hair, or I had lost more hair than I thought I had. And so when stuff started to grow back, I felt like I really couldn't do anything with it. And so it felt like once I cut it, I could at least like use styling products again and like have it at least look good. So I just kind of wanted to like, I don't know, just mention that. Like, I didn't need to, but I felt like I needed to.
I'm obsessed with it.
Thank you.
I know you weren't sold, but like I literally am obsessed. I was thinking about it in the car the other day because one time I cut my hair that short and it looked so shitty.
but I'm sure it didn't.
No, it really, honestly, it did. But I don't have the curls. They're so beautiful.
Thanks. I mean, that said, I still might shave my head before the end of the summer. We'll see. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah. And then
that's so funny.
And so, okay, so I've been out of town kind of for like the past 2.5 weeks-ish. My sister got married over Labor Day weekend. Yay. So beautiful. She looked so gorgeous. There were 3 bridesmaids. We were in different variations of like sequin gowns, and everyone, like including the people who were working at the venue, were like, great choice. Like the sequins look great. So it was like, oh cool, yeah. And
that's kind of your thing anyway, sparkle dress.
yeah. Which is so, because it's also very much like my sister too.
Okay.
So yeah, and she helped me pick out that dress because I just did not have the bandwidth to do that. And so I was like, Pam, thank you so much. And she was like, oh, this is fun for me. Like, I love this. And I was like, yay, thank you. So there was that. It was great to see family, great to dance, great to be in Florida. The weather was nice.
The weather in Florida was nice.
Yeah. And the people were nice.
Yeah.
And then last week, so I am back with the Polar Express for the 2023 season. I've transitioned into an HR role. So this will be my 5th season with them. And I feel really good about it. And I'm excited. I feel like sometimes, or you know how
so you don't have to order sandwiches anymore?
No more sandwiches for me. Oh, yeah. So. Oh, yeah. I was like, I don't know. I feel like I was telling everybody I cannot do those fucking sandwiches again.
But you're no longer Our Lady of Perpetual Sandwiches.
But I was the first. So I don't know. Maybe we can work that in there. The primary lady of perpetual lady of primary sandwiches. I don't know.
Original saint of perpetual.
Yeah. So it's my 5th season. I did 2 years as a stage manager, 2 years as the company manager, aka Our Lady of Perpetual Sandwiches. And now I'm transitioning into HR for the season. And you know how, I don't know, I feel like sometimes before I start a new job, like the night before, I'm just like so nervous because I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm so nervous. What are people going to expect from me from like the first day? Like, blah, blah, blah. And I just did not feel that way. And I mean, I'm sure it has to do with like, I've worked with the company like many times before. So so it feels good.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And then tomorrow I leave. So I'm back for like 40 hours in between when I went to Colorado to train. And tomorrow I leave for Washington State to do a kayaking trip.
Yeah. Cool.
And I've never been to the Pacific Northwest, so I am very excited for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I went for the first time last summer, and it really is incredible.
Yeah.
Take a mosquito.
Oh, no. Okay. Uh-oh.
I was in Oregon, so it could be totally different.
Well,
I don't know what it's like, you know.
I mean, I'm flying into Portland, so I can't, I won't be too far from Oregon.
But that's kind of my life motto is just take mosquito repellent. I hate those suckers. I'm like, no matter where I'm going, I'm like, might there be mosquitoes? Blake has it.
Remember when you were like, my new personality is just putting sunscreen on my baby.
My new personality is just putting mosquito repellent on my baby.
Nice. One or the other. Wait. Remember how last month we were just talking about fireflies for like 10 minutes? Mm-hmm. I have a silly firefly story.
Yay. Did you see one?
Okay, so Jacob and I went to the beach, which is like 2 hours from Fayetteville. We're driving home at night. And I see some fireflies off to the side of the road, and I like scream that there's fireflies. And there was like 3. We didn't stop though. We kept going. We were driving along, and all of a sudden, there's just like we hear a splat on the front window, and then there is just a firefly whose bioluminescent guts are just on the thing. And we're just like watching him, and like over the course of like a minute, his light just goes out. And I was like, I took a video of it, so I'll send it to you. Maybe I'll put it on the Shrews Instagram. But it's literally just like Like, we were so shocked. And this poor firefly, that's I've only seen 4 the whole time I've been here. And that was like the little group of 3. And then the one we killed on accident. And it was just so sad. But apparently we're just a bug podcast now.
I mean, why not? Blake's super into them right now. So I feel like my whole life is bugs.
Well, the cicadas are... Wow, are they a symphony in town?
I think it depends on where you are. I haven't heard a single one.
Oh my gosh.
And my uncle said his backyard is like madness right now.
So, Hannah, the front yard of the treehouse it's all cicadas. Like, I get out of my car and I can just hear them like clicking.
I wonder if it's like about what kind of tree you have or what kind of... Anyway, we're a nature podcast.
Yes. Untamed Shrubs.
Did you just say Untamed Shrubs?
I did, yeah.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Nice.
Okay, well, welcome to our nature podcast.
Oh, well, actually, this flows pretty well with the topic of today.
Actually, wait. We're talking about outdoor theater today.
Yeah, take it away. Take it to bugs.
Speaking of bugs, because one of my first thoughts when we were talking about how much I hate mosquitoes was that Titus Andronicus we did in the year of the mosquito in Flagstaff. Mm-hmm. And I had said it, I directed that show, and I had said it like in this like weird, funky, almost like post-apocalyptic, but like really timeless kind of thing. But everyone was in like kind of like leather and like what, but they were all also kind of like very minimal costumes. Okay. So a lot of flesh was showing. And Glenn Thompson and I, hey Glenn, we had to every single night before we would open, we had to fog the carpet of the tent for mosquitoes. Nice. And then I had to spray all the actors' costumes down, and still they all left stage every night with like 20 mosquito bites. But hey, just want a disclaimer for audience who comes to see us outdoors this year. We are not next to that ravine, so there will not be that problem. We are up on a hill.
No mosquitoes.
Outdoor theater. Yeah. But it's almost a joyous story now because we all laugh about it so much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's become kind of like part of the Flag Shakes lore.
And I mean, I don't know Flagstaff to have mosquitoes.
No, we don't. Yeah. Every once in a while, there's like a super hatch in that ravine by the museum. Okay. But it's literally, we were at the museum for 4 years straight, I think, and we never had a mosquito before that. And then it was just like cloud of mosquitoes came in. We had tiki torches and candles and bug spray and like and
I remember the tiki torches specifically. The smell of the mosquito repellent was just
citronella.
Like became one with us.
Yeah. We have video of that show, and everyone in the audience is just like smacking mosquitoes off of themselves. But they stuck with us. Bless them for that. Yeah, but there are a lot of upsides, obviously, too. Otherwise, we wouldn't do theater outside. So, yeah, do any of you guys have awesome outdoor theater stories?
I mean, the one that immediately comes to mind, I feel like I've mentioned on the podcast before, and it's the story from Midsummer 2 summers ago. Mm-hmm. And it was the show that we did out at the Pepsi Amphitheater. Mm-hmm. And Amy Bjorklund was playing Titania. And Titania has that speech about the seasons, about like bringing about the seasons. And she like finished a sentence about the seasons, and thunder cracked. And she just like looked up to the sky and like looked at Oberon and was like, duh. And we were like,
damn.
Whoa. We were like, she did it. Yeah.
It's so cool. I think like there were similar ones during the first time we did Mackers here, and there was like the first scene, not the first scene where the witches come out, but the first scene in the second act where the witches come out. A thunderstorm started right during their scene, and we had to like run inside and finish the show inside. But the audience was like so wowed by that. And then I think my actual favorite outdoor theater story is when we were performing in Heritage Square, the worst of all places to perform. But it was a performance of Twelfth Night, and Noah was playing Festy, and he said the line, "Let the bells of St. Bennet put you in mind." And the church bells went off. And we were like, no way. And the audience lost it. And it was so cool. But I think like all of those kind of tie into the bigger reason I just love outdoor theater, which is that it makes an ephemeral experience more ephemeral. Like it's absolutely unrepeatable. And that audience that was in that moment with you, no other audience is going to experience that the same way. And it's just like, it can be so magical, and it can open up a whole different like meaning or relationship to a play that you didn't even realize before you were doing it outside. And I just think that that's like such a cool reason to do theater outside.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of my outdoor theater stories, I feel like I've already said on the pod, but I have one similar where when I was playing Olivia, she has a line about the clock upbraids me. Mm-hmm. And this was at school, and like the school clock tower went off. So similar. But I agree. It's like, and there's something specific about being under the stars. Mm-hmm. And personally, I really like an outdoor show at night. Like matinees are fine, but I just really prefer night shows.
I agree.
There's just something about specifically Shakespeare under the stars. It's just like unbeatable. I don't know. Like you wrap yourself up in a blanket, and I don't know. There's just like something about it. You have your hot cocoa or whatever. It just feels like such a festive experience, and it feels so like, I don't know. I just feel like especially Shakespeare is just meant to be listened to under the stars. Like there's just something about it.
I mean, what comes to mind with like stories of outdoor theater are just any times like the sun has been unbearably hot or like it just starts to rain, and at first you're like, okay, it's just a drizzle, and then like it just downpours. Hannah, when we were doing the tour in New York, there was one show where it just rained, and so I think about that often because I was the one who either needed to make the call to keep going with the show or to stop it. And like looking back, I'm like, I feel like I should have stopped it. Like, because there was just so much rain. But I mean, nothing happened. Like the actors were safe. Like the audience stuck it out with us. But it's just like, I don't know. So I mean, I guess maybe I didn't need to. But yeah, you just never know what you're going to get when it's outdoors.
Yeah. And there is that whole other side of it that's not so magical, which is when you're the person making the call. And I feel that so strongly, Becki.
Yeah.
It's really hard when you're the person, especially here where we get lightning and thunderstorms so frequently.
Yeah.
It gets really stressful to make a decision about whether or not to call a show for lightning or whether or not to like, so, but it's, you just can't predict it. But I've really found that audiences, they're so much more invested in outdoor theater. And so even like taking the gamble of like, you might not see the whole show today, or, you might have a 20-minute intermission at some point during your show while we wait out some thunder and lightning. Yeah. I feel like,
or you might stick it out with us. Yeah. Like you might just be part of this journey, like as we keep doing the show and you're still here too. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And nothing is more Shakespearean. I mean, if you think about like, the Globe in London, and you think about the kind of weather that they have in London, and that was an open air theater, and it was just like people still came, they still watched the plays, and Christine as Schmidla would talk about working at the Globe that they've reconstructed there now, and it's the same thing. People show up and they stand in the pit for, a 2-hour play being drizzled on, and they're just like, I feel like it forces you to be more invested in what's going on.
Yeah.
It's not like sitting on your couch and you can also be on your phone, or like half falling asleep, or like in a movie theater where you're in the dark and you can kind of like drift in and out.
Zone out.
Like, yeah. Like if you're in a theater and if it's raining, like you're awake and invested in whatever is happening. So I think it's really cool. And, especially for Shakespeare, because it's how it was written to be done. Some of his shows were definitely performed indoors too, but they were both, he was writing them for both locations usually. So I think that so often the language references something that's happening outside, and like Hannah mentioned the clock and I mentioned the bells, like those sounds were happening in London too.
Yeah.
So like even if they weren't happening at the moment the character spoke them, they were part of the like everyday soundscape of Shakespeare's audience. So I think that they would have appreciated too the connection between the things and like really enjoyed having those parts of their everyday life brought into the theater.
Yeah.
You know?
Is there any indication or anything to suggest that any of those references, like, oh, now I hear the whatever bells, that like it could have happened, like Shakespeare wrote it to be in time with whatever is there?
I have no idea.
Oh, yeah. So, like supposedly the one in Twelfth Night is that way.
Okay.
That like Olivia's line, because it's kind of random, Olivia's line is actually placed because about the time when that line would come would have been on an hour.
Okay.
So supposedly it's possible. I don't know if that's at all true, but supposedly it's possible.
Rumor has it.
Yeah. It'd be really hard to time it probably every night, but
yeah.
Or every day, rather, because they only performed days, which is really funny because I'm with you, Hannah. I really enjoy outdoor theater at night, but if you think about it, all of Shakespeare's shows were just happening during the daytime. No one was enjoying outdoor theater at night in Elizabethan England. That would have been quite the feat.
Yeah.
But I really do love it. There's something about the feel of it that is, like you mentioned, just like so cozy and sweet, and I love doing it. And I think that also it, obviously the state of our environment is a huge part of our lives right now. And so I think anything we do to connect our work to the environment around us is important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just feels like, I don't know, everything feels more real. Like, even if you are hearing a very non-nature-like sound, a motorcycle, a siren, so many of those moments that have happened, like they just sometimes happen at the most perfect moment. And you, like the Titania moment, just get to like either be angry at the sound or use the sound, or like the sound like gets you somewhere, or like it creates a moment of silence that you needed or whatever. Like you just, it's why we do theater and not film, because
Right.
it's live. Like you
Right.
can never plan a motorcycle, a helicopter, a thunderstorm, a bird flying by, and you just never know, because usually it like somehow is like at the perfect
Magic.
time.
Yeah.
And when you're in a theater,
Yeah.
it's so curated. When you're inside a theater, the sounds are curated. Everything is quiet. Everything has been perfectly made so that there are no sounds. So you just walk in. And I mean, it is nice because when you walk in, you forget the outside world. But in outdoor theater, it's part of the world, which is just a different experience.
Yeah.
Another thing that I've really come to love and appreciate about it since becoming a mom is how much it opens up the accessibility of theater to families. And if you see our shows that are outside, like you'll notice we get a lot more families, and it's just easier, right? It's like fidget friendly. They use that term sometimes. Like there's like it's fidget friendly. If you have a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old and they need to like run for a minute, like that's great. Or if you have a baby and they start crying, like you can walk away far enough to like, so it's not quite as confined as the theatrical space where you don't have that room for like if someone gets rowdy or if something unexpected happens. And as a mom, I'm like, oh yeah, I really appreciate that, because I would feel way more comfortable taking Blake to an outdoor show than to an indoor show.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I know, A, we could keep him entertained with bugs the whole time if we needed to. And B, I know that it would be much easier for Sean and I to like tag team and like someone take him off and someone watch and someone take him off, and like not without disturbing the whole audience. Do you know what I mean? Because like in a theater, you have to like get up and walk out the doors and everyone's like, what are you doing? But it does also open that up, and I think that's something I've come to appreciate more recently.
I mean, if we have more fun stories, let's hit up, but also tips and tricks for those of us who are doing outdoor theater. What makes it different, and how can we do it better? I mean, like Becki brought up, when we did that tour in upstate New York, one of the hardest things for me was that, I mean, I'm a desert gal now. And when I first went to New York, it was so humid and so hot that I just like I remember every time I got up, I felt like I was going to faint because like I just couldn't keep enough water in my body. So I had to learn during that show that I had to drink like exorbitant amounts of water. I was sweating it all out. I had to eat a ton. I had to drink a ton. I had to wear sunblock. I didn't even put on makeup. I was like, this is just, it is a TYA show. I am playing a fox. Does not matter. I wore no makeup. I like didn't even bother like straightening my hair or anything. I was like, it is going to be curly because it is humid and that is just how it's going to be. So at least for me, like water, food, sunscreen, bug spray.
Yep.
And if your costume is not, the costume given to you isn't right for the temperature, trying your best to like modify. Like I remember I did a production set in the Caribbean and it was in October outside. So I like wore tights even though I was in as much as I could like try to add like warm layers and stuff. I mean, you can't really take off layers, but trying to add layers is good.
Yeah. Well, for that show, the New York one, me and one of the other cast members, we were because following the Fox's storyline, we were somewhere in Scandinavia. And it gets very cold there. So in the middle of a New York summer, we were in like hiking boots and flannels. And I remember we had fans. Fans, like the portable fan stuff.
Yeah, I would say self-advocate for that too. Like if your costume designer decides to set something in the Caribbean in October in Utah outside, be like, I don't know how this is going to work for me. I think I spent a lot of my like younger years in theater thinking that whatever costume I was handed, like that was what I had to wear and that was it. And it took me a while to realize that like costumers are lovely, usually lovely, personable, like very creative artists. And if you go to them with a problem, or more specifically with a solution to a problem, like, hey, I need another layer, hey, I need a pocket, hey, I need they're very good at like coming up with and helping with that. It's honestly, it's one of the reasons that we do that Jim does his shows in modern dress. He wants everyone to be comfortable. And then especially because we're doing outdoor theater, to him, that's even more important. Like he needs his actors to be comfortable. Yeah. So like the more comfortable you can make your actors, the better your show is going to be. Because if they're sweating or they're freezing, like they're not giving their top performance. And sometimes there's nothing you can do. People are going to get wet or whatever. But I think the advice you just gave, Hannah, is like gold. I think water, food, sunscreen, and bug spray are like, those are the standards. And then, just taking care of yourself during the whole, like, you know,
make sure you're getting enough sleep. Like, if you can move your body in another way, like that's not just the show.
Yeah, all of those things I think are super important. But I also think for actors, I would say like it's a mindset too. You know, like you have to go into it thinking about it in the excited way you would think about a camping trip. So like if you go into it thinking like, oh man, I'm going to have to sleep outside for 5 days and like I don't have any modern conveniences and like, you know, this is going to, whereas you're like, oh, I'm going to go camping. Like, and then all of a sudden all of those things that were like a bummer are exciting. Yeah. I think that mindset can help so much too. And so that's like the other important thing. And I really find that like the more actors experience outdoor theater, the more they come to look forward to those enjoyable moments and spend less time like worried about all the inconveniences of being outdoors. And like for theater, I mean, theater companies should take the lead on making their actors comfortable. So like, you know, having places with shade. I know we opened Duchess Amalfi at the end of May and it snowed. And it was like, what the heck? So we got portable heaters for the actors and blankets for the actors and like filled the backstage with as many warm things as we can because it was like, well, this was unexpected. Like we definitely were not planning to make you perform in the snow. Yeah. But, you know, it snowed May 31st in Flagstaff. So that's where we were. But I think, you know, like that you get better at it as a theater company also. And we've gotten better at realizing, you know, we need to have this and we need to not have that. And we need to do this and we need to like make sure actors are comfortable and backstage is set up and all of those different things. But I think if you're ready for it and you're prepared for it and your theater company is, you can advocate to your theater company or they're already prepared, then it can be the most fun thing in the world to do outdoor theater.
Yeah.
But also some people just don't like it. Like we've kind of discussed that, Dawn. Like some people don't want to do outdoor theater and that is okay.
Yes.
Like, some people are like, no, I want my green room that is gorgeous. I want my this, my that. It's like, no. So it's like outdoor theater is just different. I mean, of course, you can still have a gorgeous theater, but you're in the elements.
And
you're in the elements, and
please don't audition. Like, if your least favorite thing in the world is to be outdoors, please don't audition. Please don't sign that contract. Like, I know it might be tempting, but you will not have a great time, and we will not have a great time. And I can think of a couple of times when it's happened where we had an actor who just like should not have been acting outside. It was not their thing. They did not enjoy it, and it hinders the entire production because if you have one person who's in a really bad mood the whole time. So I would say, just don't, it's kind of like how some actors are like, Shakespeare's not my thing. Okay, then don't audition for Shakespeare. And if outdoor theater is not your thing, then don't audition for outdoor theater. But if you, if you think you want to try it once or you love it, then I think, it can be one of the coolest things you do as an actor is perform outside.
I mean, I feel like you could probably make a whole career out of it, of just working with outdoor theater companies.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, most Shakespeare festivals are at least partially outdoors.
Yeah.
If you do Shakespeare, you most likely know how to perform outdoors, which is my next thing is like, you do need to train for outdoors. Like
vocally.
Oh, yeah.
Thankfully, like when I entered the professional world, I had done a good amount of outdoor Shakespeare training at school, and that's just like not what everyone has experienced. So like I was like, let's go. Like outdoor theater, outdoor Shakespeare is like what I do. That's great. Let's do this. And some people are like, no, I am black box only. Like it is a different type of projection. Like outdoor theater requires some pipes. So like,
because there's nothing for the sound to bounce off of. So I just remember like there's sometimes like during a scene where I'm like, I feel like I'm projecting and I feel like I'm kind of shouting, but I'm not getting that like echoing back to me type thing. So I'm like, but I think I don't know. Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing as far as training as to how an actor can prepare is to prepare their voice and prepare their projection. And it's actually one of my like pet peeves with theater at present is that there are so many actors who are reliant on sound systems. And even if you're not outdoors, you're going to encounter moments in your career where there isn't a sound system. And it is such an important skill to be able to project. Also, sound systems are unreliable and people's microphones cut out and things happen. And so I would just say, like, do yourself a huge favor, find a vocal coach, find someone who can help you with projection, make that part of your craft. Because honestly, I've told actors a million times, I don't care how beautiful the moment you're having on stage is. If I can't hear you, I'm bored. The audience doesn't care if they can't hear you, because a lot of actors will be like, well, I wanted it to be quiet because and it's like, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how it feels for you if the audience can't hear you. And ideally, if you have good enough projection training, then you can marry the two, right? You can find out how to use that emotional depth and breadth and variation within your projection. But if you don't have that skill set, audiences tune out so fast. They tune out so fast if they think they can't hear you. And if they couldn't hear you in the last scene, then they're telling themselves the minute you step on stage, oh, I can't hear that person. And they just have a bias about it all of a sudden. So that's my biggest tip for outdoor theater is train your voice.
Yep, Jim was just telling us the same thing. He was like, if I can't hear you, it doesn't matter. Like what you're doing, however great it is, it just doesn't matter if I can't hear you. So
yeah, you could be the best actor on stage.
Yep.
I'll get nothing out of your performance if I can't hear you.
Film. Welcome to the world of film.
Yep.
I have an anecdotal story probably from like 10 minutes ago, but
no.
During rehearsals for The Importance of Being Earnest, every now and then we would rehearse outside. Obviously makes sense. And I remember there was this one day where I had my script. It must have been like outside of the binder or outside of the binder clip. I don't know. But there was a big gust of wind and my whole script just went flying. It was quite beautiful. And so, and like now we're all scrambling to get the pages back. And I did lose some pages, but I and my fellow cast members managed to grab all of the pages of the scenes that I have lines in.
Oh, nice.
So I was like, oh, well, that was fine because I lost what I didn't need. And yeah, miraculously got what I did need. Yeah. Yeah. So I just wanted to share that because I thought that was silly.
Yeah, that's silly.
Or like when you're trying to rehearse outdoors and your script keeps doing
the pages. Yeah.
So it's like ripping. So it's like your little holes are starting to get bigger and bigger because they're like starting to. Yep.
I hate that. So I can't stand a ripped hole in a 3-ring punch. Yeah, it drives me out of my mind. Yeah, I actually have those little circle stickers that go on the edges because I'm like, I'm not gonna tape it shut.
No, no. Nice.
That's just like the weirdest thing. Okay, well, I guess the last thing about this, I'm just wondering if each of you remember your first outdoor theater experience.
Seeing or performing?
Either, I guess. Yeah, it could be either.
So seeing. I grew up in my hometown seeing Shakespeare under the stars most Mays. Sounds weird. So in my hometown, we didn't have like a Shakespeare festival or anything, but the local university did one Shakespeare show a year, and it was always like the show they did right before the end of the school year. So as close to summer as possible. And it's in this big, beautiful outdoor theater. I mean, they were very well amplified because it was huge. But you used to go every year, and I would bring my friends and we would go as like a drama club or just with my friends. But we would bring snacks and blankets and it was amazing. So that was probably the first thing I saw outside was like in junior high or high school. And then the first show I performed in outside. I don't know. I did a lot of like musicals and stuff growing up. So I'm trying to think. Honestly, my first show outdoors might have been for school, which was like a big learning curve. Because my first show outdoors is like a 1,200 seat outdoor globe replica. Throwing you to the wolves. Yeah, I think that might have been my first. I mean, we would rehearse and take classes outside, but that's probably my first show was 12th Night, I think, outdoors. I'm going with that.
Okay.
I truly cannot remember.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sure there must have been at least one that like my parents maybe would have taken me to, but I don't know. Like it may have been college was the first time I saw an outdoor show.
Yeah.
And then I think it was post-college probably then when I first worked on an outdoor show. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't. Yeah. I can't think of a single outdoor show I did until after grad school.
Okay.
I think my first outdoor show was with Southwest Shakespeare, and we did Much Ado About Nothing at Tlaquepaque in Sedona, and it was gorgeous. One of the best theater experiences I've ever had.
Nice.
Because it was just beautiful weather and beautiful setting, obviously.
Yeah.
And I was completely in love with my co-star. So that
was nice.
Had all this stuff going on for it. But yeah, I think that was the first one I performed in, and I must have been 28 or so.
Okay.
When I first performed in one. But I know I saw my first Shakespeare I ever saw, I saw outside.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first Shakespeare play I ever saw, I saw when I was 13, and I saw All's Well That Ends Well at the American Players Theater in Spring Green, Wisconsin. And it's a gorgeous, huge outdoor stage. And that's where, you know, they have bug spray stations and they have emergency ponchos. And nothing happened during that. We ushered so we could see it for free. And we kind of sat up on a grassy knoll. And then we scoped like 2 seats that the patrons never came for that were like front center. And so we sat in those for Act 2. And I just remember feeling... I mean, I still remember Deborah Staples was playing Helena, and she was doing the big soliloquy at the beginning of Act 2, and I felt like she just walked straight to me and told me what she was thinking and feeling, and I had never had an experience like that before, and it's honestly what made me fall in love with Shakespeare, acting, and outdoor theater. Like it all happened in one fell swoop, but then I didn't get that opportunity till much later.
Yeah. Oh, that's something. 2 things. I think the first show so when I talk about college, it was also a Shakespeare show.
Yeah.
That they did outdoors on like the steps into like the theater. But the second thing is something, Dawn, that you brought up was not to say that like direct address can't happen in a black box or in a traditional proscenium or whatever. But like that direct audience address in outdoor theater feels like it's probably much more easier. And so like that bringing in the audience is also important in outdoor theater.
Yeah, even if you have a fully lit indoor stage and the actors can see somehow it feels different outside.
Yeah.
It just feels oddly more intimate outdoors. And I don't know what the magic of that is. You know, but there's really some kind of magic to that.
Yeah.
And it does it. And Shakespeare, I mean, obviously Shakespeare wrote for the outdoors. So of course his direct audience address works better outdoors. Like, that's what he was writing for.
Built in.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I just keep returning to the word magical. There's just something about outdoor theater, specifically outdoor Shakespeare, that's just magical. Like, I don't know, the like dusk, like the setting of the sun, and then the change to the stars, and the like epicness of Shakespeare and the richness of the poetry. And it's just, I don't know. There's something about it that's just right. It's magical.
I think you just hit on it. It's the epicness, right? Like all of the stories are so epic in scope. And of course that can only be mirrored by the outdoors. Like there are beautiful architectural buildings, but we're not performing Shakespeare in them. But nothing else we perform in can mirror it in the same way. It can mirror that beauty, can mirror the scope of it. And then you're outdoors and you're looking at these gorgeous mountains and everything is so just, large and overwhelming. And it's the same as the stories. I think that's it, Hannah. I think you nailed it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Epic.
Yeah, I feel like I could go on and on about rain stage stories and lightning stories and like just all I mean, especially because where I went to school was Utah, where the Utah Shakespeare Festival is. So I saw for years in a row dozens of shows a year. So I would see so many shows rained out, lightning, bugs, just so many things would happen. So I have so many stories, but I feel like what it comes down to for me is like just the vibe the outdoor theater has is just unbeatable. And I don't know, it's my preference for sure. And I also think like just as a performer, like I'm so expressive just naturally, like these eyebrows cannot be contained. So like something like outdoor theater just like is right for me because like I was not built for film, let's be real, because I'm just too expressive. Like, and I was built for outdoor Shakespeare because it's like I'm so like you have to be expansive because your playing space is expansive and you have to fill a 1,200 seat house and the person all the way in the back has to see you, hear you, understand you. So for me it's just like it's my vibe, so I just love it so much, both as a performer and as a patron.
Theater was the first time for me where how loud I was not a liability but an asset. And until I found theater, the whole rest of my life people were shushing me You know, it was like, because I just naturally project. And that's not welcome in a classroom. That's not welcome in a church. That's not welcome in a movie theater. But oh Lord, do they love it in a theater. So it was the first
More
time
of
that
that,
I was
please.
like, oh, this is an asset for me. I can use this.
Gives a new meaning to outdoor voices.
Oh.
Actually, that would be a cute name for an outdoor Shakespeare company.
Outdoor voices. Yeah.
Outdoor voices.
Okay, when you start your company, Hannah.
Who wants to throw me some money?
Now seeking benefactors.
Yeah, now seeking rich people. Well, anything else we want to say about outdoor theater before we play this very silly game?
I mean, I think I've seen a lot of T Swift memes where she's singing in the rain
Yeah,
recently.
yeah.
So
Yep.
I feel like she's
Yep.
also an outdoors girl.
Yeah.
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 No, let's play this game.
That poor lady.
I'm so excited for this game.
Okay, so here's the background story to this game.
Okay.
Funnily enough, years ago when I did camp ministry, we used to play this game called Shakespeare, Taylor Swift or Lamentations with the kids. And it was basically like we would say a phrase and they would have to guess whether it was from the Bible or if Taylor Swift said it. And then just the other day, Becki sent me this reel on Instagram where someone was playing Shakespeare or T Swift. And I was like, well, now it's come up twice. Like,
We
gotta do it. So we're going to play Shakespeare or Taylor Swift.
Okay.
So basically what I'm going to do, I have so many. I have 23.
Oh my gosh.
That many. But I already played like a preview with Jacob and it was really hard. So I'm hoping that I can stump you a couple times.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read you the thing and then you're going to each vote Shakespeare or Taylor Swift and then I'll tell you which one it is. Okay? And I tried to keep them like, you know, it's not like
To be
the obvious
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All we are is skin and bone.
Taylor Swift.
I'm gonna go Taylor Swift.
Okay, right. Taylor Swift. Good job.
Yes. Oh, so exciting. Okay.
You did it. Okay. When I was at home, I was in a better place.
I was at home. I was in a better place. Do we know if these are like complete sentences, the ends of lines?
Who knows?
I'm gonna say Taylor Swift.
Okay.
I can't scan it.
I want to say Taylor Swift, but I'm going to go with Shakespeare on this one.
Okay, it's Shakespeare and it's from As You Like It.
Okay.
Woo! You are a wicked villain despite of all grace.
Shakespeare.
That sounds like Shakespeare.
Yep, Merry Wives of Windsor. Okay, let me try to stump you. Oh, this is a good one. I'd meet you where the spirit meets the bones in a faith-forgotten land.
I don't know, T Swift.
I'm going to go Shakespeare.
It's T Swift.
Ah.
So aren't some of these hard though?
Yeah. The one the one got me, but it's like I wanted to scan it, but there's a lot of pros and As You Like It.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay, because months ago, I saw a reel or whatever where it was like how to write your own Taylor Swift song. And it was like memories, like details, like use your senses, like colors, stuff like that. And just playing this game, I don't know, like Shakespeare does that too. Like, they work very like similarly. I don't know.
Yeah.
Which is why literally Shakespeare or Lamentations work, because like the Bible is so rich in like poetry and like Okay. I want spirits to enforce.
Shakespeare.
Yep, Tempest. I feel like that one's maybe was pretty easy. Let's see. Oh, time, mystical time.
Shakespeare.
T Swift.
T Swift. Let's see.
I'm like, Dawn knows way more about Shakespeare than I do. I need to just
Hey, you know what I didn't get.
That's true.
Don't doubt yourself.
But I feel like you know T Swift pretty well.
Fair.
And I do not know T Swift very well.
Yeah.
We might be on equal footing.
Okay. This is a state of grace.
It's Taylor Swift.
I think I agree.
Yep, it's from her song "State of Grace."
Oh. It does stand though.
Yeah.
This is a state of grace.
How many more do we want to do? I have so many more.
Let's do 2 more.
Okay, let's see. Is it romantic how all my elegies eulogize me?
T Swift.
All my elegies. I'm gonna say Shakespeare.
T Swift.
Okay.
It's
from The Lakes, which I don't recognize.
I don't know if eulogy was a word. See, that's the other problem, is there are just some words where I'm like, I've never heard, I don't hear that. Because, like any author, he repeats words. I can't remember. Elegy, yes. Eulogy? I don't think I've ever heard that in a Shakespeare play. Okay. Christine would never lose this game.
Oh, yeah, she'd be so good. Okay. I think this one might be hard. I want auroras and sad prose.
I'm gonna go T Swift again.
I'm gonna go with Dawn on this one. I'll say T Swift too.
Oh shoot! I thought I was gonna get you with that one.
Again, I don't think aurora is a word I've ever seen in Shakespeare.
Okay.
Really?
So I'm just like, that word threw me. Yeah.
It sounds like it could be a name.
Wait, I want to get you though. I want to get you.
It's the name of the princess in Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah.
And it means dawn.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to start calling you Aurora.
Thank you, please. 8th grade me would be like, yes, let that be my name. So much more romantic than dawn.
Okay, I want to see if I can stump you. So I'm going to give you one more and then we'll be done.
Okay, one more. Try to stump me.
This hope is treacherous.
I know this. Oh. I was going to say, I feel like this is T Swift.
Go for it, Becki.
Oh, well, I mean, I can distinctly remember a lyric where she sings treacherous. It might not be that one, but...
You should go for it.
Yeah, I'm going to say T Swift.
Wait, Dawn, you cut out. What did you say?
I said Shakespeare and Becki said T Swift.
Okay. It is T Swift!
Okay.
And the song is called Treacherous.
Nice.
Yes. So see, and Becki knew because of treacherous.
There are literally 1,000 more, so if we ever want to play Shakespeare or T Swift again, there are ample opportunities.
Okay, perfect.
Good.
Thanks for listening to this month's episode of Untamed Shrews. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Becki.
And I'm Dawn. Join us next time in July for an episode about summer repertory shows. Follow Untamed Shrews on our Instagram at Untamed Shrews Podcast and on the Flag Shakes website. All episodes of Untamed Shrews can be found wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on sunsounds.org and the Flag Shakes YouTube.
Please subscribe to the podcast, leave us a review, put us in your Instagram stories, donate at flagshakes.org/donate, become a podcast sponsor, and buy Shrew Crew merch. Help support the Shrew Crew.
This episode of Untamed Shrews, starring Dawn Tucker, Becki Zaritsky, and Hannah Fonts. Show art by Calliope Luedeker. Podcast theme song by Cadence Lamb. Podcast produced and edited by Hannah Fonts. Presented by Flagstaff Shakespeare Festival and recorded with Sun Sounds of Arizona. Special thanks to our audio engineer, Bethany Williams.
Yay! Thank you.
Bye!
Bye!